What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. This is episode 303. My bad. I want to give a shout out to our sponsor for today's episode. Obviously, it's Easy Money Vintage. Best vintage store in town, probably in the damn state, and probably in the damn country. Probably in the world. Check him out. I know he has his 1 year anniversary coming up March 22nd. Be there, or if you can't be there, just support him. I know he's on Depop. He's got all the great stuff, tech, cowboys, music. I think he did a camo launch recently, so if that's your thing, support him. Shout out to him for sponsoring this podcast. This episode, our guest is Ozzie Santos. He's been on before, but this time he came on to talk about his poem, What is Unconditional Love? He performed it, then he broke it down for us. Great episode. I always enjoy talking to him. Check out his poem if you haven't already. Follow him on Instagram. And if you want, you can subscribe to us on YouTube. That's the best and free way to support us over here. At Snake Pit Studios. Also on Patreon, where we have a $1 tier where we do Conversation Pit, and then we have a $5 tier where I do In the Pit, which is my new show. A new episode should be dropping very soon. Check this out. Patreon.com/Snake Pit Studios. If you would, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts and all the audio platforms where you listen. Thanks, guys. I hope you enjoy it. Yeah, I just wanted to get it started before Jen gets here, because I was actually surprised that you like Mark Norman. Bruh. That really surprised me.
Why?
I don't know. I didn't know you like comedy like that. Like he, like I was telling you, he's pretty like extreme. Almost, not really, but he is.
I've heard some of his stuff for sure, and I feel like, yeah, I don't know. So far, none of what I've heard, even though it is like not the most PC. I guess that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's not the most PC, but like not even a little bit have I thought that I'm bothered. You know, if anything, it's a breath of fresh air, because that's the shit that I like. Okay. You know, yeah. I was like scared for a while whenever it felt as if being PC was so important that it felt like some things just couldn't be said, and that was just so uncomfortable, because I'm a free speech dude. At the end of the day, I think
okay, see, I didn't know that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, super big free speech dude. And what's really funny is I don't know, I'm such a believer in the fact that different time periods, I would probably have different political leanings, right? And those definitions of whatever the politics were at the time, those are constantly changing and blah, 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 blah. But I would say today, it feels like I'm a little more center right. And it seems like a lot of the homies, a lot of people that I know and attract are very liberal individuals.
Yeah, that's, I was trying to figure out a nice way to say that. Yeah, I mean, I like a lot of your friends. They're my friends, but I do know they're liberal. And so that's why I'm I didn't know if you could put on Mark Norman for them, and then they'd be like,
oh, no, I'm not putting that on.
You know what I mean? So that's why I was like, oh, well. But yeah Norman rules, man. I'm just glad comedy is where it is.
Yeah. And I'm glad that I feel like there was a big effort just collectively to make sure that doesn't get messed with. And that's such a pure form of entertainment. When someone masters it, it's so fucking cool.
She's here.
Oh, nice.
Let's
Time out.
I want to say two things. I want to ask you a question. I want to say one thing.
Okay, go for it.
I just wish we could, and I have to do my part because I haven't been the best at this. I wish we could get past that political stuff and how you lean. People believe in and just be friends. I wish we could. I voted for Donald Trump, but I wish we could just move past that and be how we used to be. Because I have a lot of people who came on here. We talked like this, we were friends, and then they found that out, and then now I'm an asshole.
No way.
So let me just say, I haven't been the best at that. I've been retaliating against it a little bit, antagonistic. My fault. I kind of want to move forward from that. That being said, let me ask you this: as a creative person and hanging around creative people, how do you get behind censorship? Do you know what I mean? I never understood that, especially from artists. Censoring speech. It can start there and then move in its way into other things. I never understood as artists why you would want to police anything like that. It really bothered me. I just wanted to say that. Do you, because we were kind of talking about that.
Yeah.
You know, you're being free speech dude and all that. Me too. I never understood it.
I could try as a new idea, just because it's not fully sharpened, but there's a few things that come to my head. I could try.
Okay.
Okay. I think that artists, when they look at art and its placement in society, they feel it to be like a goodness. They consider it to be, you know, so beneficial, but it also is used so often to, for lack of a better phrase, like stick it to the man, where people that often don't have a voice use their art to make their messages known. I think in that same vein, with the desire to be good, they eventually, you know, they also connect themselves to being very empathetic. And if you're an extremely empathetic individual and you have this desire to be good, and you're seeing other people that maybe are not in the biggest, you know, social groups that aren't being heard, you, and for the sake of what you think to be good, you are willing to censor.
So more often than not, it does come from what they believe to be a good place.
I think so.
Just maybe a little misguided.
Ultimately, because I think there's this space in which you think, which a person feels like they can, if we just put a couple of blocks on some things, then eventually it just stops there. But what inevitably happens is you want more, or someone ends up wanting more. And so what begins as a like, we can get to this space in which we only censor things that are actually properly should be censored, that eventually gets taken advantage by other people in some way.
Mm-hmm. It always happens, and there's always evil people.
Yeah, actually, I have some thoughts about this whole good and evil thing.
Did we not talk about that last time?
We did for a little bit, and I keep building on all of it because I don't know if I got too much into it, but I think good and evil are straight up constructs. I think that if I was looking at everything through God's eyes, if I was a creator, then everything in essence is good simply for the fact that it exists. Mm-hmm. And I think the most profound symbol is the yin and the yang. There's not one side that's completely black. That's not one side that's completely white. And the idea is when you try to delete some portion of human expression, all you're doing is feeding the part of it that wants to express itself that much more. There is no expression is a part of experience. I think the meaning of life is experience. And so if you try to delete some portion of expression, it desires experience. So it will express itself eventually. So the hard part about this idea of mine is if I'm saying that everything has some essence of goodness simply for the fact that it exists, then that means the worst aspects of being human, I'm saying, are good. Not necessarily. What I am saying is that they're natural.
Primal.
It's an absence of one thing, right?
I would say the natural, primal, that's as close as I can get to it. But whenever we go primal, people start to think whatever animates us, it's our responsibility to overcome what is primal or what is natural. And I think that's where, again, we start to lose our humanness. At that point where...
Well, because that's when you start talking about free will.
Free will, yes. Yeah,
I was
yeah.
gonna bring this up.
But here's this idea that let's say if everybody was on board and everybody has free will and they exhausted that free will in such a way to make an active choice that we could bring, I don't know, some type of utopia, right? And so many people are so invested in the idea that can be here, but a utopia would be the absence of everything that we consider to be bad or evil. And I'm here to say that bad and evil is natural, just like good things are natural, and those things cannot be deleted. They must exist.
Mm-hmm. It's like you're saying, yin and yang.
And so one of my favorite questions when I ask somebody who swears up and down they're not a utopian individual is, okay, if you can agree with me that suffering is a part of the human experience, then what percentage of the population are you okay with suffering? And a lot of them will either say, I don't know, which is not an answer, or they'll say, I don't want any suffering. But they can't say that because they already agreed on the fact that suffering must exist. So if you're telling me that only 7% of the world can suffer, I'm like, damn, bro, you're wanting to live in an A+ place in which I don't think we can do. I think it would only be realistic to maybe go like 70-30, and maybe we all take turns suffering on the 30% side. You know,
See, I don't know. I wouldn't even, when you say that, I don't even look at it as a numbers thing. Like, we all suffer.
yeah,
It's a human,
100%.
It's
That's
a
so
human
true.
experience. It's just at what level. Then you have these individuals who want to, then you have people who rise up and are like, I'm going to implement my will on you.
I mean,
and
because
make
you have
my-
you have personal suffering, and then you also have like suffering at the hands of others.
Yeah, like poverty and shit
what I
comes
mean?
from
Exactly.
Palestine.
And can any of those things actually be taken away in the form of those experiences? I don't think so.
I think that's what happened to aliens.
What?
They got rid of all of that emotion and shit, and they just become fucking. You don't become human no more, man.
I see that
You know
as
what I mean?
AI too.
Oh, yeah, AI.
Yeah.
You're not human anymore after that.
That's and I think that another one of like the most
should've said
profound
AI.
creatures, one of the most profound like creatures. Okay, are you familiar with Star Trek: Next Generation? Okay, I'm gonna give you
a little bit.
another one. Okay, so in Star Trek, there's a hive mind that goes by the name the Borg. And they fly in this like giant cube, and they're mechanical, and they're a hive mind, and their desire is to have the universe under the hive mind. There's another figure in Rick and Morty that's called Unity, and Unity is another hive mind. And I think it's so genius because the word unity has this good connotation, but what she's doing is she's taking over this planet. And like, I think Summer is like, how are you taking away the personality of these individuals? Well, this planet is filled with like rapists, killers, and so Unity is like, do you want me in charge, or do you want me to leave them to the free will in which they all kill each other because they're all terrible people, right? And I think so often do we start to think that we want things in such a way that we're taking away other people's choices.
This is why we need Jedi
Yeah.
to protect the people who can't protect themselves.
Oh, what's the line?
Knights Templar, whatever.
Only a Sith. Oh my God! What's the line? I could take away my nerd card. No. Okay, it'll come back to me.
God damn it!
It'll come
I
to-
was
it'll-
ready to hear it.
It'll come to me. Oh, only a Sith deals in absolutes.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, and so the idea then is just like, oh, when you're so sure, let's say about censorship, or we're so sure about like this thing is evil, right? There has to be some space of nuance because the human experience is so complex. Like every form of expression that we could think of has within it an infinite bar of expression, of the mild to the most extreme, whether it's anger or it's happiness or the way I dress or like I think of every form of expression as an infinite bar of expression. But yeah, when someone is so absolute and they can't even take into consideration the complexity of life, you're turning into a Sith, bro.
Uh-oh.
That's a good way to put it.
Damn it, I gotta chill out.
You can't be an absolutist.
No, you can't.
There are Siths on all sides.
Yes, 100%.
That's why the Jedi fell.
Hey, but they come back though.
In a new way, huh?
Yeah, they're on the come up, and that's the whole like wave of life. You know what I mean?
That's crazy how that came from my censorship question. That was pretty cool. Little.
I mean, circling back to what, you said about Siths only, dealing in absolutes, that's the same thing about censorship. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're so
Having
sure.
absolutely zero tolerance or only absolutely.
That's why it scared me, because it was like absolute power.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to dictate what I can say, and then it goes on to what I can wear.
Yeah.
What I can think, like that's why I got real scared about that. I still get scared about it, by the way.
Yeah.
But there's
It fucking
also,
scares the shit out of me.
going back to what you said in the very beginning of like when I had just gotten here, it's one thing to speak about what you're passionate about and believe in what you believe in and advocate for those things, but there's a really, really strong line. It's not even a fine line. I think it's a very strong line of saying shit with your chest about what you believe in and then also speaking ignorantly, and you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think there's a very fine line.
I think it's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
And I think there's a quote that's like the path to hell can be paved with good intentions.
I also just see it as like,
And
there has to-
it's like you might see free speech, but also it's like if you're speaking freely and like not really like considering like the types of people that you might kind of be like, you know, like
that's what I was
speaking out
about-
on and
that's
shit
what I
like
mean.
that.
There has, in my philosophy, it's like you're an adult. You have to have some sort of personal accountability. Like I can't get on here and say the N-word. I know that. I don't think it should be banned, but I wouldn't do that. Like that's horrible.
Yeah.
I have a little bit of that, but I also understand, like, again, with this Kanye situation, I see it in my eyes, the dumbasses who follow him.
Well, I mean, you have to
'cause there's a
see
lot of,
how
like-
like at this point, especially like Saturday night, the way he was speaking Saturday, like on Twitter, like you have to see like that shit is very damaging. A man of that platform,
It's dangerous. I see it as
speaking
dangerous.
like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially because there's people that will be like, "Oh, he put up a swastika shirt. That's so fucking punk." Hell yeah! And the immediate
wanna style it.
bandwagon.
Also,
you know what I
I
mean?
just learned about this?
Or like him being outspoken about all this shit, he's speaking about, seeing it as, you know, like, oh my God, look at him, you know, standing up for himself and you all disagree with him. It's the same fucking Hot Topic shirt slogan of you all laugh at me because I'm different. I laugh at you because you're all the same type shit. That's literally what it gives.
And I mean,
You know what
I understand all that. It's just for me. I think it's like,
But I need
it's
that
just-
shirt still.
for me, but just for me, it got deeper than that because I don't really even pay attention to what he says because I know he's a fucking off the rails idiot. It's just the idea of like, no, we're gonna get rid of you. That scares because that's the prime example of who you should get rid of, right? But then it goes further once the powers, once you give
But then
the
it sucks
government
to
the power
Yes.
to do that,
can't.
then it's like, well, Roy said something about Trump today. He's going to get fucking thrown off the platform. That's how it starts. And it
Yes.
scares the hell out of me.
Yep.
And it's the left, when they have power, they do it to the right. And when the right has power, they do it to the left. And I hate it.
1000%.
I fucking hate it. It scares the shit out of me more than anything.
Me too.
That's how good my life is, by the way. I also understand that's the one thing I'm worried about.
Yes. Yeah.
My life's pretty
Yeah.
goddamn good.
Yeah, Kanye.
I'm not
Yeah.
really worried about
The
egg
ghost.
prices, you know. So, I'm very fortunate, very blessed. I also understand that, but for me, again, like back to that, like artists, like this whole thing, like I get what you're saying now. You put it perfectly.
Thank you.
It comes from like, yeah,
Yeah, they want, they in the desire to have voices for those like that aren't like for minority groups of any kind.
which is okay. That makes it more palatable for me to hear it like that.
Oh, good. Yeah, I try my best to like truly understand.
Yeah, I guess I could do better than that. 'Cause
On my Instagram, I say lover of bridges, and it's not because of like I do love the structure of bridges themselves. Like I legitimately have fun when I'm like on top of the water I'm driving on a bridge, but the metaphorical example of like crossing two or connecting two separate ideas or two separate people, that's like my deepest desire for understanding is the desire to be a bridge.
And that's how you gain empathy. And I feel like empathy is the root of a lot of things.
Oh yeah, that's a big one. Oof.
conversation. That's how you. Get
I mean,
to
that's
know somebody.
empathy, conversation. That's even like how intelligence grows. You know what I mean? Like learning from somebody that you completely disagree with, even if you still disagree with them at the end of the day, it's just kind of like, I see how you're processing things and I understand that.
Yeah.
Even if I don't agree, I have to understand where you're coming from. if you can speak
One of those
thoroughly
good
like
happen.
that, yeah. Would you like one of these?
I'm good for now, but I might actually take a hit because I had
Have you had
hair drag.
one of
It's been a
these?
while.
Oh.
I know.
I just started, so I get like a little head change with them again, and so I'm
Just
just
looks
kind of
too
like,
good.
that was actually the first like cigs that I smoked. So,
Really?
yeah,
Oh my God.
1000%, yeah.
stop bragging. What the fuck?
No, it was so
My
bad.
first cigarette was a clove cigarette.
It's crazy how they like. I guess cloves are illegal, but this is how they label it.
I mean, yeah, I guess whatever.
And they were so tasty and easy to get a hold of back in the day, and that's what like really switched it up for me. I went from that to I went through a menthol
American
phase.
spirits.
I did go through a spirit phase. I did go through a spirit phase.
No, I can't talk shit because my first cigarettes were American spirits. I thought it was a shit.
Yo, have you heard the song "Hallucinogenics" by Matt Mason?
No.
Oh my god,
And
it's
they
like-
last forever.
I'll have to tell you about it, but he has this really cool line where he's at a festival and he's like, "My cigarette burned my finger because I forgot I lit it," and like you could see like, oh, you're obviously tripping. You're in the middle of a music festival. You lit your cigarette, but you forgot about it.
Good, huh?
They
It
are
does
so
make
good.
your tongue numb.
If you inhale it like weed, and I don't choke on these things, I love it.
You're not supposed to, right? Like actually inhale it because
It's
they're
like a
actually
cigar.
cigars.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's why
Shit.
that's probably why you were coughing and congested.
I was all like, I think I have tonsillitis.
That's what I'm saying. I wasn't
Friday.
full of shit. I wasn't being full of shit when I told you. I think it's from smoking these.
I was at a party Saturday telling people, inhale it. Inhale it like weed.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a cigar.
There's going to be a lawsuit that's like, if Jen gave you a close cigarette and she told you to inhale it, you may be entitled to
Oh, yeah.
compensation.
I saw a dude at the bar on Thursday just smoking them like cigarettes. So just going through them.
Yeah, you'll feel it still.
Oh, man.
And then, on the topic of empathy, I remember it took a while for me to even call myself empathetic. I was afraid to give myself that title. One, because two people can have the same experience, but have completely different thoughts about said experience.
Like takeaways.
Mm-hmm. And so even in my attempt to try to understand how you're feeling, I'm so far away from what you actually feel, because you're this unique expression of all of the experiences that you've ever had in your life.
Exactly.
Right. The attempt to do so, I think that's empathy. You attempt it, but if you fully think that you could understand someone's experience 100%, I think you're wrong,
Yeah.
because you can't.
Do you think a mother can experience their son?
Oh, like that level.
I mean, maybe.
I feel that there is like an
Or like a
inherent
father
connection
could
there.
experience their daughters.
Yeah, like that connection.
Have you ever, like, it's almost like the movie scene where like something happens to a child and they're like in two separate locations, but it cuts to the father and the father's like, oh, I felt like, or the wind changes or something like that. In those type of scenes, I like to think that can happen if you're that intimately connected to somebody, that you could feel that loss even from a distance.
Yeah, so empathy is something I need to work on.
It's a hard one. Because of that experience that I was like, I don't know. People call me an empathetic individual, and I'm glad about that. I'm always working on it, and I come at it with the utmost respect when I make an attempt to try to understand you. And I think really often,
And that's all you really can do is just attempt it. Just like, let me hear you out. Even if it's bullshit, let me hear you out.
but some people feel like in order for them to connect, they have to share an experience with them, and I feel like sometimes that takes away from someone trying to talk to you when you have to insert your experience, because you have such you have so much of a desire that like, I want you to know that I understand you. And you don't need to do that to listen to somebody.
Right.
And that's what I was going to say earlier when you were talking about like communication and stuff like that. Oh, what was on the topic? I think it had just been post the talk about free speech. Oh yeah, and being able to talk about like censorship and like, you could be in a room with someone with completely different ideas and still want to like be able to be friends with them afterwards, right? Okay, so this is a multi-layered issue because one, that would be dependent on that person's communication skills, and not everyone is taught a way to communicate, and not only communicate with their thoughts, but to be able to communicate their emotions. That's a whole other layer of communication that people don't have, that also requires a certain level of intellect and emotion, right? And so there's already these layers that make it really, really difficult for someone to not only like listen, but then understand and then communicate well.
And then I feel like sometimes some people kind of have this like notion of, if I meet a person like that, I know exactly how I'm going to talk to them. So it's almost like at that point, you're not listening to respond. You're listening
totally.
to regurgitate.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Because
and
you've convinced yourself.
Yes.
already.
Like, and it's like dealing in absolutes.
100%.
Absolutely no. I am absolutely intolerant. We had an example of here. We I think it was during the mayoral race. We had several different candidates. We had a favorite that was here in Lubbock, and we had him on several times, and we adored him. But also, it was only fair to have other people on to hear them out. You know what I mean? If we are really going to be like for the people, we need to give people a different. If we're going to act as a platform, we need to kind
Which
of
I loved
exercise
those,
that.
by the way.
Well,
So
I
dope.
mean, thank you. One of those candidates was Tony Renteria.
The only one that reached back out, by the way.
Yeah, you know what I mean? But also, I remember when Roy had kind of told us about him, and we kind of looked into him. I took it upon myself to like ask the public, like, like we're gonna have this guy on. Shoot me your questions. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And in a lot of ways, Tony delusional as hell in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? For dealing in his absolutes of what he believes in. You know what I mean? And I have my absolutes of like what I don't tolerate and everything. And even though I feel strongly about the type of people that he doesn't want to represent, you know what I mean, or whatever, or the groups of people that he doesn't speak fondly of, or he speaks of as throwaways or as bad people or as harmful people, I can't combat that with, well, fuck you, Tony. You know what I mean? Like, you fucking, I can't. As much as we disagreed, I had to sit down with it as in, like, this man is not speaking from hate.
Yeah.
This man is speaking from the time he grew up in, where he grew up in, the tax bracket that he grew up in.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Also who
like
he represents.
Yes, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
that's
like
a whole other layer. Oh.
It's this man has been,
he's a politician.
whether I agree or not, has been shaped by the culture that he has. You know what I mean? It's like his choices were his. You know what I mean? But they were never spoken out of like hate or bigotry or like calling people slurs or whatever.
He
was coming from he was coming from almost like a very almost miseducated approach, but I mean he knew what he knew.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that was kind of like, okay, I can go off on this guy, or I can just be like, okay, well, Tony, give me some examples, or okay, Tony, what about this, or hey, Tony, I actually have an uncle that's from, you know what I mean, and whatever. And although we didn't agree, it kind of came to the point of him being like, you know what, I like you.
Nice.
You know what I mean? Because we were able to have that conversation. Cue to the next day, I got a ton of shit in my inbox, and I got signed up for like spam emails because I wasn't like, fuck this loser. I went off on him and for all of you guys and blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? I guess my correct response should have been, shut the fuck up, Tony, every time he opened his mouth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Versus hearing him out and then trying to re-educate him on, I know this is where you're coming from, but this is kind of how it is. You know what I mean? Or this is like maybe another example of how that might be.
He was wrong about the books. That's what he was wrong about.
He was wrong about that. He was wrong about the drag queen story times. He was wrong. He was wrong about before I kind of caught him up on it, he was trying to insinuate that people that had just been released from the pen being dumped here were making Lubbock a bad place, when in reality it's like, okay, so what are you going to do for those people that are displaced to give them structure? You know, like how are you going to rehabilitate people instead of treating them like fucking throwaways?
Yeah.
Because he was going in that direction. So, I mean, I don't know. There were just like a lot of directions where it was like, I kind of let him go there, and it was like, okay, well, let me give you some examples here. You know what I mean? Of how like, this is how you're sounding, or this is kind of how I'm interpreting it. And he would kind of go back and restructure what he was trying to say, which I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
I have to appreciate that from our standpoint. You know what I mean?
The mayor elections next year, we'll see.
If he came on here dropping slurs and speaking ignorantly and speaking with hate, this conversation would have been completely different. But I had to respect him for coming by himself to this place. You know what I mean?
Because I'm talking about free speech, and if he drops some slurs,
how did you feel about those who messaged you like expecting more from you?
I think it was kind of disappointing because it's also like they're younger, you know what I mean? And sometimes I feel like younger people come from a very like, groomed is the complete wrong term, but some people get groomed by the internet to believe only one way is the right way. And I feel like that's kind of the block that I see nowadays. You know what I mean? Is like, it's failing to understand, or, failing to really listen to respond versus listening to regurgitate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So a lot of the people that were in my inbox were younger.
Yeah.
A lot of them were just completely intolerant. A lot of them were like, well, you should have this person on, and said, well, we actually did. You should listen to this episode, or like,
that was crazy.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And just like being like, okay. Or being like, you know what? It was actually like me just kind of trying to be like, it was a pretty decent conversation. We went toe to toe. I gave him hell, on a lot of things, but you should check it out. Okay. You know what I mean? So it's just the complete disregard of it. And then I ended up getting signed up for like an email spam thing. So I was like spammed with like 200 something emails.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That
But it's okay. I mean, fuck it.
Yeah, I think another thing about the whole being young is that you're so raw and emotional that
Yeah.
like once you're in that space, especially like when you're convinced that like this person is only hate, then you have to retaliate.
Right. You know what I mean? And so I know that shit's on YouTube. You know what I mean? I know exactly how I handled that conversation.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things of like, I am not going to walk on eggshells for anybody that isn't going to walk on eggshells or even give me the time of day to explain myself either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
100%. And that's the way it goes. And I'm sure there were some non-surprises in there.
Oh yeah. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
what can you do? That's kind of what happens when you're on this side of the table. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You just kind of open yourself up for it.
Tony, if you want to come back on and plead your case from here, you're more than welcome to.
Hey.
Mm-hmm.
You, Adam, I think Steven Sanders.
Adam too.
I don't know who else is running. I know those three.
Yeah.
Yep.
McBriar. He never answered me, so whatever, dude. You came on here. Let's start from the beginning.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
You have this poem,
I do.
but it's layered, and there's a lot to it.
Yeah.
I listened to it today.
At the end of this whole explanation, can you read it to us?
Yeah. So actually, I'm gonna give you just like a quick primer.
Okay.
And then I'll go ahead and perform it, and then we can talk. We could break it down.
Sweet. Okay.
Because I kind of want to. This is the podcast that I really wanted to like decode a lot of it because there's so much of it. And thank you for listening to it.
Mm-hmm.
So the poem is called "What Is Unconditional Love." It is inspired by and dedicated to a past relationship of mine, in which I was not the best partner or the best person.
Mm-hmm.
And I gave this person many reasons to dislike me, to hate me, not talk to me. But she continues to extend love to me. And I truly believe that the light of her love since day one has prompted a beautiful change in me that's needed to happen. That will bring a lot of the old behaviors that I've developed since I was a child. Those need to be removed. And those positive changes that I make, like this poem is a promise. It's a commitment to those positive changes and integrating them in my life. So yes, it's for that. It's for her. It's for that past relationship. There are 4 sections. In each well, technically 5, but 4 sections, which I'm going to need your help. And I'll explain that here in a little bit. But each section has a term that I associate with unconditional love. And then I will give you some explanation behind why I chose that word. And then each section will end with either a gift or a lesson. And then we'll move on to the next section. The final section being a thank you letter. So what I need from you that breaks these sections is I would like for you to ask me what is unconditional love. And I will signal you to ask me with this.
Okay.
Okay. Let's begin.
What is unconditional love?
What is unconditional love?
Threatening. Because it's drawn to you. It's drawn to you because it is you. Sometimes you need to be reminded so it reveals itself through another person. This is where projections can present themselves. You feel threatened by this messenger of love and you say things that you don't mean, or rather, you say things that you mean to say to yourself. The gift here is the opportunity to be unafraid of the deepest parts of love, from others, but most importantly, from yourself.
What is unconditional love?
What is unconditional love?
Educational, because it's a mirror. It reflects your shortcomings and gives you the opportunity to explore your mind and your heart. Oftentimes in its presence, you won't like what you think you are, and without the proper tools to acknowledge and process, it can be triggering. Nonetheless, A person with clear intentions of being good in the ways that they feel the most aligned will ultimately feel gratitude for getting to see the sublime truth that who they've been, who they are, and who they can be are all one. You. The lesson is to welcome change.
What is unconditional love?
What is unconditional love?
Happy. It's happy to be the space in which you feel the most comfortable showing the ugliest parts of you. It believes in you because it sees the goodness in you. It knows you are goodness. It shines a light over all of your darkness. You felt it before, a something or someone that you want to be better for. Unconditional love asks you to be happy, not superficially happy, but truly happy. It asks you to embrace grace.
What is unconditional love? We gotta get
What
better
is
at doing
unconditional
this shit and
love?
And
Well-
it's perfect the way it is.
Gosh, dang it.
Boundaries. It's counterintuitive, I know, but when healthy, boundaries convey an inner knowing of oneself. It is comfortable and strong enough in its own knowing of what it can provide and sustain. They require a healthy self-love, respect, and discipline to erect and maintain. It may seem like a separation is occurring, but that's a trick. And the beauty of it, you get to realize that love can still be received and given, even when it doesn't look or feel like it. The gift here is a lesson in the fact that love permeates through all. So thank you, unconditional love. Thank you for your strength. Thank you for your grace. Thank you for your understanding. Thank you for forgiving and not forgetting. Thank you for showing me who I am and believing in me. Because if I got it, it's unconditional love that brought it, baby. Thank you.
Hell yeah.
Thank you.
So, may I decode it?
Before you decode it, how nervous were you performing that?
You know what's so cool is I wasn't that nervous
Oh, nice.
because I've been prepping for this for like 6-7 weeks.
No, it's pretty impressive you didn't read it.
So this
Like,
is something
damn.
that you knew you wanted to put out there and that you knew like you wanted to break down?
Oh, I love this because
Like how intentional were you about, putting this out, I guess?
so the creation of it, it was hard to enter the spaces in which I think I thought about this past relationship because it would remind me of the way that I was, the lash outs that I had and what all resulted from it. But when I did let myself enter those spaces, I would just let myself kind of write down all the positive thoughts I had about this person and the relationship. And the idea was that one day I'm going to look back on this writing and I'm going to create something from it. I didn't know if it was going to be a poem or a short story. I had no ideas what it was going to be. And, one day I was really deciding on like, I'm going to put it together, but I kept pushing that day off because it's a hard space to walk into. And, one day I finally got up and I did it. And when I opened the notepad, I had realized that I had finished already 90% of it. And I don't even remember when I finished it. And that already made me feel as if it had been channeled from a space. And as I start to decode it, I think you'll come to realize like the depth of it alone, I'm so proud of because I think it comes from such a pure, loving space. So when it came to form, by that time I had already released another poem called The Cursive Letter K, which maybe later I could perform as well. And they're intricately connected for the reasons how they came about. But when The Cursive Letter K was kind of a coming out party, it was like my first time really channeling something, and it felt so good to release it. But with this one, when I saw the form of it, I was like, ooh, there's something here. And I told myself that I had been sitting on it for a couple months, but I only wanted to release it if I felt confident in the changes that I was making. And because I felt like it would have been disrespectful to the relationship and the overall message if I hadn't actively put in work to integrate these lessons into my life. And what was so cool, I don't know if you know this girl. Her name's Aziza, and she's the wife of Josh Brown. Okay. Aziza, she an incredible artist. I got to meet up with them late December over in Salt Lake City, and we got to do something that she calls Vision 2025. And what she does is she creates this circle, and she kind of cuts it into 7 parts like a pie chart, and 7 parts like a pie chart. And each piece had this one word, like it was relationships, and it was career, and it was finance, and it's love. And the format goes 3-minute meditation, 6 minutes to draw and put some bullet points. Under career, I drew myself in stick figure form because I can't draw too well, but it was me. And I had a microphone and a wizard hat, and I was speaking to an audience. And a couple of weeks later, Belem, owner of Aerial Atmosphere, gave me, when I taught an acro yoga class there, she had informed me about their spring showcase. And I had been telling her that I'd been working on this poem for a good bit, and the whole thing was like regrowth was the theme of the spring showcase. And so she said, what if you perform it at showcase? And I was like, I haven't performed in I haven't been on stage like that in 11 or 12 years since my old theater days. And I was like, how cool would it be? How else can I integrate the lessons of this poem than rehearsing it at home? And so how cool is it that through Vision 25 and Aziza that I had drawn myself speaking to an audience under this wizard hat, and that a couple of weeks later, it manifests through the opportunity to perform it at the spring showcase.
Did you wear a wizard hat?
I did not.
Damn it.
But this is the magic behind the wizard, is
Nice.
the glitter.
Okay.
There's also some announcents in terms of this monicum that I'm going to go under with some ideas here. But yeah, when I saw it take its form, and I got so super excited about it, and then the opportunity came for the spring showcase, and I was able to track those days and feel good and confident in myself, and truly have faith of reaching this version of this version of me who doesn't dwell in the old thoughts and the behaviors. And those behaviors were when I think of the things that I've done, I'm so covered in shame and I'm so covered in guilt. And 2024 was me literally just relieving myself of all of those things, literally pulling out of the soil all the old foundation and inserting new soil. And that process has taken me a while. But this is the coming out party. This is where I call myself an artist. This is where I tell you I'm saying this as a believer in the changes that I've made. And yeah, so then I made it a big deal.
Nice.
I made it a big deal.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's decode it, man.
Okay. So first word is threatening, right? And it's wow, why does unconditional love have some association with threatening? And I think what happens is if you're not healthy of mind or healthy in your emotions, that when someone who's offering you, real love actually comes across as if you're being threatened because you feel like you don't deserve it. And the idea of that, and where I later on in this poem, in that section, I say you feel threatened by this messenger of love, and you say things that you don't mean, or rather you say things that you mean to say to yourself. That's a call to the projections that you could put on someone who's just trying to love you. The very first line where I say, it's drawn to you. It's drawn to you because it is you. That's a call back to a specific memory between me and this person, where when I first told her that I was interested in her, she responded with, Ozzie, I'm drawn to you. And And in the moments where things were ending and I was so engulfed in insecurity and jealousy and darkness, all the way to the point that I could logically tell you that this woman doesn't lie to me. I could logically tell you that this person loves me. But I was so in the depths of the darkness that I couldn't truly feel it. And I would even come back to that memory, that beautiful memory, and I would try to taint it and say that it wasn't real or that it shouldn't have happened. And, so me calling back that line, it's drawn to you because it is you, is my way of apologizing that I would ever taint something so beautiful. So right off the bat, it's a call to that. And again, the gift is the opportunity to be unafraid of the deepest parts of love from others, but most importantly from yourself, for yourself, because if you can get to that space in which you could truly look at yourself with love, then you're that much more likely to be able to love other people authentically. So that first part's a good one. Threatening's a good one. Can we move on to the next one?
If you want.
Keep it going, man.
I'm just listening.
Yeah.
Thank you. When I move into educational, because it's a mirror, it reflects your shortcomings and gives you the opportunity to explore your mind and your heart. Oftentimes in his presence, you won't like what you think you are. I almost want to repeat that line, because when I say you won't like what you think you are, when you're projecting onto another individual that you know is just trying to love you, you start to look at yourself as a monster. And the idea is that you're not a monster. You're a human with unique experiences and particular traumas that created this perfect cocktail that creates the behaviors that you're like moving from, that you're choosing to move from. And the fact that this person that I believed at that time that I was showing that I was a monster to, never believed that I was. She saw the humanness in me. And wow. I'm just so glad that I was able to come to that realization. And my hope is that when like other people hear it, and if they ever think of themselves as monsters, that they're reminded of the fact that they're not monsters, they're just human. Did
you come to that realization way after your relationship?
It's hard because it's such a thought that feels like most people think it. People know that you're human. I think this, like, even with the idea of people going to therapy, is this realization that you're a human person. You should come to understand yourself. So I don't want to say that I was void of the thought that I wasn't a monster. But what I was void of was truly believing and understanding myself, believing that I wasn't, and understanding myself enough to truly extend that like understanding to myself. But yeah, a lot of these maybe have been thoughts before, but not truly felt and integrated the way they are now. To explore your mind and your heart. Oftentimes in its presence, you won't like what you think you are, and without the proper tools to acknowledge and process, it can be triggering. Nonetheless, a person with clear intentions of being good in the ways that they feel the most aligned will ultimately feel gratitude for getting to see the sublime truth that who they've been, who they are, and who they can be are all one, you. How often it is that we could think of this version of ourselves in the past and that we're associating with being a monster, and we're trying to detach ourselves from it, when the only thing that you can do is welcome it and come to understand it. And then you come to realize that if you have this idealized version of you that you feel like you could reach, this future you, and that you have this past version of you that you're trying to detach yourself from. And then you have this current you that's just so unhappy, not only with the things that you've done in your past, but also the fact that you're not this idolized version of you that you want to be. The real realization is that you're all of them.
Yeah.
And
I felt that one.
Yeah.
And when I say like with a person with clear intentions of being good in the ways that they feel the most aligned, everyone has their own ideas of what is in alignment with themselves. So only they can really speak to like what goodness means to them. But in terms of being clear and with good intentions, sometimes, let's say addicts or whatever, there's going to be behaviors that make it seem as if they're not well intentioned. And sometimes when you're in the midst of it and someone's telling you how disappointed they are in you, all you want to tell them as well is like, bro, you're not the only one. I'm not liking this version of me either. But something that she was so clear on is that she believed that I was good and that I had the intentions of being good. And often, like for me, it's like, oh man, if I'm not consistent in the practices that I consider to be good, and I'm more consistent in the practices that cause me shame and guilt, then I'm identifying more with shame and guilt than I am the part of me that is well-intentioned. And so now it's like granting myself the belief that I am good intentioned. I wouldn't feel, if I wasn't good intentioned, that I wouldn't be feeling bad about the things that I did.
Yeah. And I think that's like a big part of like that kind of like accountability and acknowledgement is like, it's a shit ton of work to be like, to pull yourself out of things. It's a shit ton of work to reflect. It's a shit ton of work to kind of be like, you know what, I wasn't a good person, but I'm moving on now, right? Like a lot of people like, that's half the work. But I think a lot of that work is also not sitting in, I was a piece of shit or I was an awful, you know, whatever, but also acknowledging, actually, I was like that. This is why I was like that. But I'm actively taking care of that past version. You know, I feel like, I don't know how old you are, but like, I feel like we have like eras of our lives. You know what I mean? Or
sure.
like I always tell people like, I've lived like a lot of different little lives in this one life. You know what I mean? And whether it's like a little girl version of me or like a little tubby preteen version of me or this confused 21-year-old that wondered when things were going to make sense or when I was going to feel, you know, complete or whatever. It's like I can still feel the same way at 25 or at 27. And it's just kind of like at some point, it's just kind of up to you to like take care of all those versions of yourself.
100%.
Just like nurture them. You know what I mean? Like I'm always going to take care of the child version of me.
That's what I was about to say. Like that's the bigger thing. That's the big thing that everyone like really knows about is taking care of inner child.
It's that, but it's also like teenage me and like, it's like, I don't know, like I know I was so blessed, you know, in the life I did have, but also I know the things that I lacked, you know, that held me, you know, like that things that affected me like emotionally or mentally. And so it's just kind of like, that's up to me in my day-to-day life to do little favors for 4-year-old Jen, even though she's not here anymore. It's up to me to take care of her like that still.
Yes.
Whether it's watching some, you know, whatever. It's just, I have to take care of her in that way. It's up to me to take care of the 14-year-old girl that would have looked up to me, you know, now,
Totally.
You know what I mean? It's up to me to mother the 19-year-old version of me that was super fucking depressed and suicidal. And you know what I mean? Like it's up to me because that's still me. That's still in my fucking body and my DNA. Like I realized I just should have been kinder. You know what I mean? And I can't redo certain things. I can't take back things I did to myself or put myself through, but I can take care of her now. And hopefully I'll look at myself with kinder eyes in 10 years of myself now. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's all I can really do.
Because future you wants you to take care of you now, right now.
No, truly. You know what I mean? And I'm a woman, so I'm around women that are older than me, younger than me, talking down on themselves, or I hate this, or I hate that, or I wish I had this body when I was 21, or I wish I can't wait till I'm older and I have it figured out. And it's just kind of like, bro, you're going to look at yourself in 10 years with kinder eyes.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and you're going to feel so fucking bad for yourself, for 30-year-old you or for 20-year-old you or whatever, because you're putting her through the trenches and she was just literally going through the shit like you know what I mean? Like just like, I don't think there's ever an age that we get shit figured out, but.
No, there isn't. There really isn't. There was 2 more parts about this section. One, when I talk about the reflection part, I've come across a couple of videos where I'm just so convinced. I believe that we have multiple soulmates in this life.
Oh yeah.
And I truly believe that she was one of mine because from day one, it was a direct reflection of like all of the shortcomings that I've had and like where am I falling short, or even if I had a willingness to lie, I wouldn't even be able to look her in the eyes. And how beautiful of an opportunity it was to be so clearly reflected upon. And then that person still extend love to me. And so the last part of this is the lesson is to welcome change. And change comes with the idea that even if I don't get the opportunity to be like friendly again, that comes with the acceptance of change overall. So I welcome change in all the ways that it comes. Third part, when I say happy, it's happy to be the space in which you feel the most comfortable showing the ugliest parts of you. It believes in you because it sees the goodness in you. It knows you are goodness. There was a time towards the end of the relationship in which I was having episodes and scenes, and I would yell. And I hate that. I hate that because I don't want to yell at any person that I truly love. And it must have been so maddening for her, because at the end of one of those sessions, when I was able to snap out of it, I would apologize because I felt so bad. I felt so bad. And I remember the first thing that she told me when I apologized to her was, Ozzie, I'm just grateful that you're comfortable enough to show those parts of you to me. And wow, how deeply understanding, how deeply compassionate, how deeply forgiving, and how purely connected she is to love to be able to offer that to somebody right off the bat, and so naturally. Mm-hmm. It's comfortable enough, or it's happy to be the space in which you feel the most comfortable showing the ugliest parts of you. It believes in you because it sees the goodness in you and knows you are goodness. It shines a light over all of your darkness. You felt it before, a something or someone that you want to be better for. Like, all of us have something or someone, you know, like my something is my dog Larry, you know, and my someone for in this particular example was her. And I have many of those. So at first when I was writing it and I kind of left it at someone, I couldn't look at my dog, you know? And so I had purposely had to put like something or someone that you want to be better for. And unconditional love asks you to be happy, not superficially happy, but truly happy. It asks you to embrace grace. Grace is definitely one of the most difficult things to truly be able to give myself. And I think it's hard for a lot of people. And I think it's really hard for men often as well. But I think grace overall is just really difficult.
Can you define it?
Grace? Mm-hmm. Oh, man.
Like if you could, no, because I mean, like I say that a lot, you know, like to my friends, is like, give yourself some grace. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, give yourself grace for the day, or let yourself feel it. You know what I mean? And it's a hard one to define, but how would you?
Yeah. When things that come immediately into my mind when I think of grace, I think it's intricately connected to understanding. Mm-hmm. So if you're low on understanding, then you probably have a low chance of giving yourself some good grace. Mm-hmm. So I think understanding is an essential part of giving yourself grace. I think so. Understanding is a part. Some part of me wants to say forgiveness in some part, but it's a difficult one for me to want to say that because there's such a thing as weaponizing forgiveness.
Yes.
And if I was truly saying that I wanted to change, and then I wasn't making those changes, but I kept giving myself what looks like grace in the form of like, I'll just do better the next day. I'll do better
Excuses.
the next day. Yeah. Then at that point, I don't think that you're healthily giving yourself true grace.
Yeah. At that point, I think you'd be lying to yourself.
Mm-hmm. And some people need it because to come to the realization that you're not where you want to be can destroy you as well. Mm-hmm. So sometimes it ends up being like a safety mechanism. Yeah, I think that'll be my best that I give in the definition of grace, that it has something that it's intricately connected to understanding. And then there's some portion of it that's forgiveness. There's also some aspect of faith in being able to move forward, and that there's something to move forward towards. Mm-hmm. And that's difficult to develop for yourself. Yeah. And like for me, when I'm in the midst of making these changes, again, these behaviors that I'm talking about have cemented themselves over the span of 10, 12, 15 years. I can't change overnight. That's not realistic, you know? So grace looks like to me the idea that when I slip, and the amount of time that I let myself slip, or the amount of things that I will allow to cascade into more slipping, those things are minimized into shorter periods of time every time I'm put into those circumstances. So something that maybe took me a year to get over and truly understand, my hope is the next time it would be 6 months. And then the next time it'll be 3 months.
Something that took you a decade to come to terms with. That's where grace comes in, I guess.
But that's a hard one. It's a hard one because I think it's so many layers to truly give yourself that.
No, I think that's a pretty good definition, especially coming from the whole understanding. Maybe coming from an out-of-body perspective and understanding, like having empathy for a version of you that you have no control over anymore, but you carry them with you. So you have to give that person grace. And
there's a chance that given the right circumstance that version of you gets projected again.
Oh yeah.
And
I mean, because that's where we're talking about earlier. It's like some things are just primal in us, you know, like whether it's from like, you know, our perspectives or experiences or trauma, it's like we're all cut from a different cloth. Like I can understand where I can try to understand where you come from. And even if even if the action would never come from me, you're just a different person than me.
Yeah.
And I just have to make peace with that.
And I wish so many people can have access to that. I think there's such a pure level to truly understand there. That's my goal, to try to give people as much understanding as possible in life.
And so to me, like, that's grace. You know what I mean? Is understanding. Although I cannot understand, I have to understand where you are. You know what I mean? Or where you came from.
Yeah, that reminds me of like when I'm giving myself grace, right? Like I had to set myself up this whole little thing in my room. And like I'm doing this like mirror work and I'm putting some like positive stuff on there. And I'm doing it all on top of my childhood blanket. And so like I just thought like, ooh, setting up that little scene, like, well, how cute is it that my mom brought my blanket? and then two, like, oh my God, if I'm having trouble like going to that corner and meditating, then maybe doing it on my blanket will be that much more inviting. And so here I am talking to child version of Ozzie that like, hey man, I understand why you acted the way that you did.
I mean, that's essentially what it is. You every day sitting with little Ozzie. You know what I mean?
And I'm just telling him like, hey, we're safe now. I got you. Trust me. And I got you. So the happy space is really, really sentimental to me in this poem because that was such an amazing gift to be given after like an episode, you know?
Oh, yeah.
But the fourth one is also pretty up there. Obviously, they all mean something to me. But boundaries. It's counterintuitive, I know, but when healthy, boundaries convey an inner knowing of oneself. It is comfortable and strong enough in its own knowing of what it can provide and sustain. They require a healthy self-love, respect, and discipline to erect and maintain. It may seem like a separation is occurring, but that's a trick, and the beauty of it, you get to realize that love can still be received and given, even when it doesn't look or feel like it. I purposely put words like healthy at the beginning because there's a way to erect boundaries in an unhealthy way where all you're doing is running away from resistance. Oh, you're giving me some thought or some feeling that I don't like. Boundary. You're
dealing in absolutes.
No good vibes from you, bro. Got to get out of here. You know? And it is essential to have these like healthy components when putting up boundaries. And that's not to say that you can't do it when there are times and circumstances that necessitate, but all it is highlighting that there are differences in the way boundaries can form. And so, you know, here I am, this explosion happens and I lose like, you know, not only the relationship, but I lose myself so much in the darkness that like 8 friends have to remove themselves from me and protect themselves from me and put up boundaries. And here I am getting lost in this idea that I need to save people from me. And in the darkest of depths, like, that's what I wanted to do was save people from me because I don't want to hurt anybody. But then I realized that even if someone like disliked you or hates you, but you experienced true moments of love, those moments of love reverberate throughout time. They're eternal, they're forever, and they're true. And no matter what, that hate or dislike would be coming from a space in love. So if you're having so much pain, that's probably how in love you were with that person.
Yeah. I mean, have you ever heard of like that? It's a quote that gets reworded all the time, but it's about grief. You know, like grief is all the love that we can't give out anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same about hate. You know what I mean? Like, is hate not just all the love that you cannot give just spat out, essentially? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love these thoughts because when I say it doesn't look or feel like it, like, how difficult it was to still feel love from the people that I'm now forced to be away from. Mm-hmm. And it sucks. And what happens, the poem's called Unconditional Love, right? So in the moments in which you're experiencing true love with somebody, there's no conditions there. It's just the experience itself.
No, it's any love I gave you is yours to keep. Mm-hmm. That's it.
And for us to share, and my belief is that one day we experience it again when we leave this world. Mm-hmm. And it's just it's cool because sometimes when you put up these conditions of how a relationship should look like, you're going to believe that you're not loved because it's not looking the way you want it to look. But the idea is that love can still be received and given even when it doesn't look or feel like it. Mm-hmm. So I still have love extended to me by all those people, and I have no doubt that that's the case. And I extend that same amount of love so deeply to all of them.
And sometimes, like with boundaries like that, like people separating themselves from you, like, you know, sometimes that love really is just like, I love you so much, I don't want to hate you.
Exactly.
I love you so much, I don't want it to get there.
Perfect.
That's I've been in that position. I love you so much, but I don't want to see you like that.
Right. And
I'd just rather love that person like that from a distance with the memories that I have, and nothing harsher than that, nothing uglier than that, nothing that grows into disdain and hate.
Mm-hmm. And it's so hard, like, because I think this is where my only child comes in, because I want things the way I want them, you know? And it was a hard one to kind of just like truly accept. And that's another problem of mine, like, truly accepting circumstances, especially because I could take so many variables into account that I sometimes give myself the illusion that I can control an experience, but I can't. There's no way that I can take into consideration the infinite variables that like define an experience. And that's been something that I've been purposely removing myself from. And it's been a lot more freeing to be in the moment.
Yeah. And I mean, like with like love, like whether it's like platonic or like romantic or whatever, it's just kind of like your expectations of it are like, that's your approach of how you would approach love. You know what I mean? So that goes into everybody being cut from a different cloth and, you know, presenting these things differently, you know, but I don't know where I was going to go with that, but that's just kind of how I see that, is just kind of like, it's so easy to like have expectations of like what love should be for you and like what you expect in your boundaries of it, but that's just actually how you would project it out. You know?
What did that remind me of? Oh my God, that reminded me of something. What did you say at the beginning?
Girl, I don't know. I just want to say it.
No, you're good. You're good. It was, quick second.
Oh no, like,
the differences in love.
Yeah.
It was like romance versus like platonic. Right? Okay. So those were so difficult for me to understand, because it's like my admiration can grow so much for somebody that I can think that it's romantic. And those things aren't so clearly defined. And I think that's where the Greeks super had it dope, because they had like 7 different versions or 7 different words of love. And I'm like, yes, you know, I'm like a friendship love, and then like a familial love, and then a romantic love. And like, that makes more sense for me. But I had a lot of trouble dividing those things in my mind. And that also took up a good portion of 2024, because sometimes you could be in a space with somebody in a relationship and you could lose romance in that relationship, but you are so afraid that you're making a mistake to separate yourself from this person. You become you become too scared to admit the truth that you're starting to feel differently. And so maybe that leads to acting differently because you're unhappy. And this defining those differences, it's a privilege for that to be clear to people.
Oh yeah,
it's a privilege. And I've met people where those lines are just so easy for them to see, where they could like truly give so much love that a traditional or average person would look at it and be like, that's romantic. But it doesn't step those lines, you know? And whoa.
Any love I give you is yours to keep, you know, like it quite literally costs nothing, you know,
Love be wild.
in most instances.
Love be wild. Love be wild. But when I end it with the gift here is a lesson in the fact that love permeates through all. I think it's my true belief that even when, again, boundaries create what looks like a separation, it's not, you know, because love still goes through that. When I move into the thank you section, I say, thank you, unconditional love. Thank you for your strength. Thank you for your grace. Thank you for your understanding. Thank you for forgiving and not forgetting. How often is it that when people are asked for forgiveness, they think that they're also being asked to forget? And that sometimes prohibits somebody from giving forgiveness. But the beauty of a beautiful aspect of forgiveness is that you're not being asked to forget. If anything, if you're remembering those things and you're still extending forgiveness, that makes your ability to forgive that much stronger and makes it that much more pure.
Because it's almost, I mean, we've all been through shit, but like it's, when you choose to forgive somebody, you're not choosing to forget. It's just kind of choosing to accept that certain things are in your reality and they have happened and they are mine to carry and mine to work through. So I forgive you, I guess, for putting me through that, and I will work through it, and I'm going to do my best to not hold it against you.
Yeah. And ultimately, it is for yourself to just remove weight. To truly forgive someone is the removal of weight from yourself.
Oh yeah, because that's where hate festers. That's where emotions fester. It's either you choose to just accept it, it's in your reality, and choose to just move with it and carry it however you need to, you know, whether it's carrying it for a while and dissecting it, or whether it's just kind of having grace for that person and yourself of like, this person fucked up in this way, or this person harmed me in this way, and this person has affected me in this way, and now I'm feeling these unclean thoughts or these unsavory feelings, but they're now mine in my reality. You can't project that on that person for what they've done to you. Unfortunately, that's just life, right? You know what I mean? Some things are just yours to hold, you know, just like how love is just yours to keep. Some things are just mine to hold, and they're going to shape me now.
Or you choose to project, and now it's just a continuous, and now we're just projectile vomiting.
No, I mean, it's like you can go tit for tat, or you can just, all right, you know, and just hold it and work through it yourself.
I'm not gonna lie, I tried to be really clever with the projectile vomiting, like project. Like that was so purposeful, and I felt so good about that pun, and I could not let that pun go.
You're like, I need it known.
Yeah, projectile vomiting. Anyway, I'm keeping that one. That one's mine. I'm marketing it.
That's okay.
But that's why I purposely put thank you for your strength, thank you for your grace, thank you for your understanding before, because I think the ability to forgive to that level and understand that you're not being asked to forget are expressions of true strength, grace, and understanding. But the last part that I sing, and that I will always sing, if I got it, it's Unconditional Love that brought it. So that's inspired by a song from an artist named Aaron Frazier, who's the drummer of Duran Jones and the Indications.
Okay.
In 2021, Aaron Frazier dropped his album Introducing Aaron Frazier. A couple songs from there, like Bad News, ended up being like one of the more popular songs. But when I had heard that album front to back, my favorite was If I Got It, Your Love Brought It. And the fact that it was my favorite was that much more validated because in 2022, when I went to ACL and I got to see him live, he ended his set with If I Got It, Your Love Brought It. And when that song came on, or whenever I had first heard it, I had already dedicated it to her because there was so much of it that like I truly felt because of her light. Like I owed so much to her. And so when that song came on, I turn around and I grab her by the hand and I pull her to the back of the crowd, and we're dancing and we're swirling. And I know that in that moment, nothing else matters. There's no doubt in the fact that I love her. And there's no doubt in the fact that she loves me. And that moment, that expression of love, there was no more conditions. And so there was no conditions at all. It was just an acceptance fully of the moment and all emotions that came along with it. And so I sing that line as a callback to a moment that I felt was the deepest expression of unconditional love. And I'm forever going to sing that.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
What a beautiful little memory, though.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I read something on Twitter, I think it was, that was like, is true love not like regressing back to like being children together,
Oh,
dancing
100%.
and playing and giggling and laughing from your belly? You know what I mean? Is that not
100%.
love? You know?
So much of it is.
That's what we do with our friends. That's what we do with our, you know, our beloveds. You know, you giggle and everything.
Fart.
That's you.
That's
Fart
love.
and giggle.
Mm-hmm.
Those
And
are-
I just
Eat food.
Those are gas
and I'm
bubbles
just
of
like,
love.
ew, and we giggle about it.
Man, no, for real. Thank you for like doing that, opening it up to us and being vulnerable like that. I like enjoy it. I don't think anybody's ever done that on here. Appreciate that.
Oh yeah. With that understanding, can I do it one more time?
Mm-hmm.
With this time, I think she wanted you to be a little bit more in sync. I actually liked that it was separate.
No, we don't have
I
to.
thought. Wait, what?
I actually don't. I should have been more clear, but honestly, I don't. I accept all forms of asking me. So I actually thought it was kind of cute that y'all took turns asking me. I was super okay with it.
Okay.
Continue doing it.
Yeah. So you could do it, and now we know that it's purposeful. So however it comes out.
Okay.
Can we do it?
Okay.
Ready?
What is
unconditional
unconditional love?
love?
Is this a race?
Love it. Okay. That was good practice.
Thank you.
Okay.
If you perform it again, I'll be better.
Okay. We're going to go with this one.
What is unconditional? What the
Sorry.
fuck?
I was thinking about something else. My bad.
I forgot.
Try it again.
All right. Take
In sync.
7. I'm just kidding. It wasn't take 7. Okay.
What is unconditional love?
Threatening. Because it's drawn to you. It's drawn to you because it is you. Sometimes you need to be reminded so it reveals itself through another person. This is where projections can present themselves. You feel threatened by this messenger of love and you say things that you don't mean, or rather, you say things that you mean to say to yourself. The gift here is the opportunity to be unafraid of the deepest parts of love, from others, and most importantly, from yourself.
What is
What is
unconditional?
unconditional love?
Love.
Yes, perfect.
Sorry.
No, perfect. Educational, because it's a mirror. It reflects your shortcomings and gives you the opportunity to explore your mind and your heart. Oftentimes in its presence, you won't like what you think you are, and without the proper tools to acknowledge and process, it can be triggering. Nonetheless, a person with clear intentions of being good in the ways that they feel the most aligned will ultimately feel gratitude for getting to see the sublime truth that who they've been, who they are, and who they can be are all one. You. The lesson is to welcome change.
What is unconditional love?
It's happy. It's happy to be the space in which you feel the most comfortable showing the ugliest parts of you. It believes in you because it sees the goodness in you. It knows you are goodness. It shines a light over all of your darkness. You felt it before, a something or someone that you want to be better for. Unconditional love asks you to be happy. Not superficially happy, but truly happy. It asks you to embrace grace.
What is unconditional,
What is unconditional love?
Boundaries. It's counterintuitive, I know, but when healthy, boundaries convey an inner knowing of oneself. It is comfortable and strong enough in its own knowing of what it can provide and sustain. They require a healthy self-love, respect, and discipline to erect and maintain. It may seem like a separation is occurring, but that's a trick. And the beauty of it, you get to realize that love can still be received and given, even when it doesn't look or feel like it. The gift here is a lesson in the fact that love permeates through all. So thank you, unconditional love. Thank you for your strength. Thank you for your grace. Thank you for your understanding. Thank you for forgiving and not forgetting. Thank you for showing me who I am and believing in me. Because if I got it, it's unconditional love that brought it, baby.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I also love that, just a small part that you included your dog in that.
Right.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah,
Just want to
dude.
shout out to Frank.
Oh.
Is that his name?
No, it's Larry.
Larry. Sorry.
Yeah. Nah,
Shout out
close
to him.
enough. Larry, my boy. Larry
Shout
was.
out to you, dog.
I love him. He's 13.
Dang. My mom just told me my beagle's about to be 12. How old is Gomez?
Hey, beagles are the small ones,
Gomez
right?
is 5.
Yeah, they're smaller.
Yeah, so they last a while, right? Small dogs last forever.
Yeah, a little bit.
A good while.
What kind of dog do you have? You have a big dog, right?
Yeah, he's a black lab mix.
Oh.
Yeah.
Shout out to him.
Yeah, Larry's the best. Larry's the best.
I think we talked about him last time, too.
Yeah.
I always enjoy when you come on here.
Thank
It's
you.
always fun listening to you talk.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you know it was a good episode because I didn't say shit this whole episode. I love it. I got to know, where'd you get that ring at?
I know, I've been looking at it this whole time.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and shout out a shop here in town. They go by Coalesce. I find them on Instagram. Abby is her name. She just like kind of opens up her like back shed and she collects a lot of vintage stuff. And she's one of the people that I get a lot of this from. This whole fit is actually...
I've been wanting to go shop there, but she's open when I'm at work.
Yeah.
And I work weekends. So
you can message her and she can open up that
private?
space for you. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And the
I'll
only
keep that
thing
in
is
mind.
like sometimes when you do that, you almost feel pressured to
about to
have
say.
to buy
I know,
something.
that's kind
you
of what
gotta-
I'm like.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
about to say. You have to buy it. So is that, relatively inexpensive?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like this is like a lot of my jewelry is like more costume jewelry. I really don't have much rare, like actual real stuff.
Same.
But I love it. I still play with it. It's so fun.
I need something like that.
Yeah, it's just fun to play with. I was gonna tell you, I'm like, so there's a monicum that I'm going under, and I want to call myself. And the reason why, well, one, I don't know if you guys have seen some of my videos, but I invested in a disco ball, and that changed my life. Like, I just have it. When the rotator came in the next week, bro, oh my God, dude. And so now that room is a space that I want to get into. And oftentimes, when I want to let myself dance, I have to be at a concert or I have to be at an outside festival. And the disco ball, it's bro, I could dance however I want under this sucker,
Nice.
And I was called that evening that I was talking about earlier with Aziza, where we did that art thing. Her and Josh had bought me this little plastic disco ball from Target, and I just had my fur coat on and my tiny glasses, and I was drinking my water out of my little disco ball. And Aziza was like, "Ozzie, you look like a disco wizard," and how those words entered my ears and the resonating that occurred literally had me react like this. And then she was like, "What?" And I was like, "That's what I am." I was like, "Oh my God, that is what I am."
Lore of people's names. I love it.
Yeah.
It's my favorite.
And dude, and how profound it is, right? Because it's how reflective a disco ball is and the essence of it having so many mirrors, right? And then you throw some, it already is magical in its essence, but now you're a wizard as well. And so now I'm just reflecting magic off this disco ball. Anyway, the idea is that I'm hoping to launch this at the end of March or early April. But I'm going to start a YouTube series under the moniker and...
Oh, we might have to bleep that then so people don't know it.
Oh, yeah?
I don't steal it.
Okay. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, okay. I like that. Or I need
Unless you release it first.
I need to go do that. Yeah. Or at least have the YouTube channel ready under my name before I put up all the videos. Yeah, okay, I'll do that. I'll do that literally in the next couple of days. Because I would hate if this is still...
I would hate for that to happen to you too,
Dude,
man.
I would hate that. And this but yeah, just, 2-minute, 4-minute videos of breaking down every yoga pose, and then 10, 12-minute sequences in which I'll hyperlink the poses that I use within the sequence, which I don't really see many people do. And yeah, so the hope is bring me home with you and do some yoga with me is my thought. So that's one of the projects. More poems coming out. Cursive letter K was my first one. What is Unconditional Love is my second one. In late April, I'll also be releasing a poem called When You Meet in a Forest, which is inspired by a friendship that I met over at a festival called Electric Forest last year. But this one, not only am I going to make like an official live video recording of it, but I'm also wanting to play with like an AI generated animation, because the poem kind of revolves around like I'm a wizard and she's a flying squirrel, and we're like walking into the forest and we have our experiences and stuff like that. So it has a very like child book feel. It takes about 3.5 minutes to finish. So I'm just thinking how cool would it be to have some like animation for it.
That'd be sweet.
And then I'm gonna send it to Electric Forest and I'm gonna try to perform it there. So that's gonna be my goal.
Nice.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be really, really cool. So got some connections. At least I'm attempting it. No expectation that that's gonna happen, but just putting myself out there.
Do it in the parking lot.
Expect some no's. You might get some yeses.
Yeah.
Where's that at?
Electric Forest is over in Michigan.
Michigan.
Yeah, good. Quite.
How
the
is
drive.
the wedding officiating going?
I haven't picked up a new wedding in a while. I have one that's like kind of in store, and I just keep putting it out there. I feel like the more people I meet, like there's gonna be this season one day where like where homies of homies and homies are getting married.
It's just planting the seed. Planting the seed.
Yeah, so I think there's that one particularly is gonna have these like up and downs, but I have no doubt that I'm gonna do more in the future.
Because I think when we had talked last time, you had maybe done like 1 or 2 weddings, and you were kind of like, I want to do more. Have you done more than?
Yeah, I'm at 8 now.
Oh wow! So
Nice.
you've done a few more for sure.
Yeah, there was one that I did like really last minute.
Now, are these people that like refer you, or do they just kind of seek you out because they know you? Or
so the last 2 people, one was like, "Yo, my wedding officiant just dropped out," and like I just remembered to myself like, "Oh shit!" Like I saw Ozzie's story, and he does wedding officiant, so he called to me, and I got to do that one. And then there was another one where I was referred by. I don't know if you're familiar with this person, Simone. She like owns a
Taste
food
Buds?
truck called Taste Buds. Yeah. So
Shout out her.
yeah, best food truck in town, 1000%.
every time I go, I'm like, just whatever you got, just make it for me.
For sure.
I'm not gonna pick
Simonia
anything.
Bologna.
Straight up artist. Yeah, so Simone had referred me to a couple, and that was my first like full on strangers. I had never met them ever. And understandably, right up to that point, it was like homies trusting me. And then that dude was like, "Hey, we kind of need a contract." And I was like, "I understand." I was like, I get that. Like if there isn't any word for it, like if there isn't any like written print that I'm going to be here, and give my services, I could totally see where.
It's like, are you gonna be here or no?
Yeah. And so when he asked me, like at first, it was so funny because I had this like, wait, and then afterwards I was like, no, actually I need to thank you because now I have the contract.
Yeah.
Now you have a format.
Yeah. Now I have a format. So,
Okay. Yeah.
but that was a fun experience because just complete strangers. Yeah. But it was really cool. They opened up so quick, and
That's awesome.
it was really fun.
I don't know if last time we talked to you, we hadn't gone to Grand Canyon.
Oh no,
That's
no.
when we talked
had-
to you.
Yeah.
Like a year ago.
Yeah, because we hadn't talked about that, but I had told y'all of a couple spaces, and I know that y'all went on that adventure, right?
We went there.
Yeah.
And Jen has bad fear of something.
I thought I was gonna have vertigo. I could literally feel my body just being like, just go.
Oh
So,
yeah,
yeah,
just
I
like
just-
getting to the edge and stuff like that. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I could literally
pretty
just feel my
crazy.
body kind of swaying. And Roy wanted to take a picture on a boulder, and I was like, no,
Mhm.
I'm okay.
There is like something gravitational in like the like expansiveness of it. It really
Yes.
it does feel like you're.
Yes, and there was just something very much that was like, that's nature down there. Like if I go, that's it. You know what I mean? Like there's just something very, very just brutal about it. It
Dude,
was just
that hike be wild. So they do this thing where you could like horse ride or mule ride your way down there, and then you spend a couple days down in the valley. I think it's a 7-day excursion. To get to the bottom is like 12 miles or like 12 or 15 miles.
There's natives down there, isn't there?
I'm unsure about that.
Like a group of people that live down there.
It wouldn't surprise me because I was only familiar with. I visited the South Rim,
okay.
and so which is so mind blowing. I'm like, fuck, there's a North Rim.
Yeah, I think we were on the South Rim as well.
Yeah.
My mom is, I don't know what she's doing, but she's doing a hike.
Oh yeah.
Like
She's going down to the bottom.
They drew her to go do it. So I don't know what
At the
they're
Grand
doing.
Canyon?
Yeah, like sometime in October.
That might be it.
Oh.
It might be.
That might be it.
Like a fucking long ass trip.
Dude, and then like the animal sounds that you hear while you're down there, because like you said, you're like in nature.
You've been in there?
No. But like
man.
I've got to talk to people when I was doing the hike. So that day we were having to make our way over to Zion, which was where I did my first wedding. But we stopped at the Grand Canyon, and like, so we had some driving to do still, but I was like, let's just go down. Right. And they have markers for the trail that takes you all the way to the bottom of the Grand Canyon. So you have a marker at the 3 mile mark and the 6 mile mark and the 9 mile mark. I think it goes by threes. So we hit the 3 mile mark, and I was like, let's keep going down. And of course she was down, but then like we come to realize like, oh, down was easy.
Yep.
Now we're going up, and it's steep. It's steep, like the curves that count. Like it's steep.
I want to do that. Then now I want to do that.
Yeah, to go all the way down,
Yeah.
and that's why they make it a multi-day thing on horseback. But you could also like hike it. But they do it as a multi-day thing because that's a while to get done. The longest hike I've ever done is 12 miles, and that took me like 7 hours. So
Me and my friend did 8 in January, and that was tough.
yeah, in January. Okay.
Paladuro.
Was it pretty cold?
No, actually,
Was it good?
was a surprisingly good day. It was right before it got real cold.
Yeah.
Literally, like the week, and that was rough.
Yeah, dude. 8 months. Like when you go into that, it takes a while, and you have to have enough time for it. And then there's like this whole preparation piece of it. I do hope to go backpacking one day. I've yet to do that, but
I want to do that.
I would love to go backpack. But that requires a little bit of training.
I've heard, so I got to get used to that.
Yeah.
Fuck. Yeah, that's one thing. Grand Canyon.
I'm so glad that y'all got to see it because it's just so cool.
I want to go back. Love it over there.
Yeah.
Flagstaff.
You know, there's a spot right outside of the canyon where there are like teepees available as Airbnbs.
I think, did we pass something like that?
Because he sent it to us.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
showed you. We didn't pass it. But
No.
Yeah. And let it be known, like, it's not the most comfortable of experiences, but in terms of like being out in a space that has low light pollution, the sky, fire.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. That's what made the teepee experience like really cool. It almost looked like there was some slight horror aspects to the fact that like, okay, there's a, not a trailer, but like an RV that the owner is at that's like keeping look-see over like all the teepees, but he'll have like an evening dinner where everybody's invited. And so I took a Polaroid, and like that shit looked like so witchy.
Like some midsummer type shit.
Yeah,
or
totally.
something.
There's like 9 of us, and it's like
It's just like the last, like they were never seen again.
yeah, totally.
They do film horror movies out there.
1,000%. It had that feel. That's like, and I had specifically asked her. I was like, purposely, I was like, hey, go get the camera, because like it would look way better in that than it would with my phone.
Yeah.
you know, it was so good.
Like they're gonna need this for the documentary one day. Take that picture.
Yeah, and then those like, you know, those classic like the light reflects off people's eyes
Oh,
that give it
shit.
that like little red thing. You know, it
Uh-huh.
was so good. It was so good.
I wonder how many people die out there at the Grand Canyon a
Oh, yeah.
year.
Honestly, I had actually thought about this to myself, like where if I was like absolutely homeless and I was on the verge of death, I would probably want it to die at a park.
Freeze to death out there.
At a park. Well, maybe not the freezing part. Maybe the like fall.
Oh well, yeah.
But-
and then you live, and then you're all fucked.
oh, no, and then you will die
Yeah,
if
I
you don't get
guess.
help. If you don't get help,
God, that place so crazy.
I don't know why. I was
It's
like,
fake.
what?
Like the Grand Canyon, when you're
Oh,
like, it just
100%.
looks fake.
It looks
Like,
fake.
what
Yeah,
the
for
fuck?
sure.
I love it.
Looks like the flat Earth, for sure.
Hell yeah, brother. Again, I appreciate you doing the poem and telling us about it. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, dude. Thank you so
I hope
much.
people. I'm gonna actually. Sorry, no disrespect. I'm gonna put this one out this week.
Hey,
I'm gonna work on this one this week. So
hell
push
yeah,
everybody
bro.
else back. Sorry, guys.
Dude. Thank you. That's so.
It's all
that means
it's all
something.
comics, so they can kiss my ass. They'll be all right.
Yeah,
But I'll put this one out hopefully by Wednesday or Thursday.
dude,
I'm
that'd
gonna
be
put
so
that in
beautiful.
my mind.
And I'll put that up. I'll put it up so quick.
What I'm gonna do actually is probably clip you reading the poem as its own thing.
Hell yeah.
I don't know how long that was, but
A little less than 3 minutes.
Because you know how I post on Instagram like the little 1 minute clips. Instead of doing that, I'll do the poem.
Yeah,
On YouTube.
bro, dude.
So I
Thank you
got
so
you,
much.
brother.
Yeah, yeah.
Anything else for the people?
Do I have anything else? Yeah, we'll bleep out the whole.
Yeah,
thing,
I'm
but,
gonna have to do that.
but but when the time comes, we'll definitely make that announcement. Maybe we can re-meet up at some point in the future. And at that point, I'll have my other poem up
Okay.
as well. So
Sweet.
maybe in the next 3 or 4 months or so, or 2-3 months. Anyway, yeah, we could do that one. And then I'll also make it a point next time to drop the first poem and the meaning behind that one, The Curse of Letter K.
Sweet. Sounds good, man.
Hell yeah. Dude, thank y'all.
Jenny, got
Thank
anything?
you. No, I don't have any.
Alrighty, guys. Subscribe to the Patreon, please. Patreon.com/SnakePitStudios. We'll see you
Do it.
guys.
Do it.